What we done started. Look at what we done started. This the people party. Peace and love, party people. It's the BKMC, the MCEO, Talib Kweli. I am in the house with the world's best podcast and the world's best podcast co-host, my friend, my confidant, Jasmin Leigh in the place to be. What's up, Jasmin? How you feeling?
Doing my stretches. I might pull out some dance moves.
I like that jacket over there.
Oh, thank you.
You look like a working woman from the 80s.
Just say it. I look like money.
You definitely look like money. How you doing, Jasmin?
I'm great. How are you?
We are up early in the morning.
Yes.
To do a special episode. Because this episode, we're going to make history with this episode. This is the first time we've had two guests in studio. We've had two guests or more on the show in the pandemic era with the Zoom, but this is the first time this table has been blessed with two guests. And this is a father and son team. Yes. And I feel like how they represent is historical. This young man that we're going to interview, he is an actor, a dancer, a rapper. His dance performances made him famous when he was a wee lad, and they are absolutely incredible. You got to check him out on YouTube. He was a contestant on America's Got Talent. He has guest starred on television shows like Raising Hope, Shameless, one of our favorite shows.
Yes.
Drunk History, one of our favorite shows. You probably know him best as Blackish Jack Johnson. And you know we love Blackish on this show. We are punching our Blackish subway card.
Yes.
Some of his film credits include Battlefield America, Free Guy, Boy Genius, an NAACP Image Award nominee, and he dropped his first foray into hip-hop last year with the fantastic album, We Are the Future. Now, we would not be able to talk about this young man today and his burgeoning music career if we didn't give flowers to his father, who is also here with us. No stranger to the microphone. You know him as Wildchild from the Lootpack. Some of his solo work is Jack of All Trades, Secondary Protocol, which was produced by our friends Madlib and Oh No, them Jackson boys. He dropped a guest verse on Mad Villain, Quasimodo, Foreign Beggars, plenty more. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm People's Party welcome to our esteemed guest, a son and his pops. Two generations of black excellence staring you down, sitting with us today. Miles Brown and Jack Brown, a.k.a. Wildchild and Baby Boogaloo, in the place to be.
Thank you.
Salute.
Thank you.
How y'all feeling?
Good, man.
Good. Early
Thanks
in the
for
morning,
having
but
us.
we good. We chilling.
Hey, y'all got stuff to do. Y'all got stuff to do. We got to get it in early.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for taking y'all time. I know y'all time is valuable. Jack, we're going to start off with you. How you doing?
Good, man.
It's good to
Appreciate
see
you having us, man.
Absolutely. You were the OG here. You were the elder statesman. I am very influenced by your rap style. I said this to Anthony Anderson when he was on this show. Lootpack comes up on this show a lot. And, when I was starting in industry, our records were side by side in Fat Beats in certain record stores. And I always take these Lootpack records and later some of your solo stuff back and listen to it. Your rap style is, like mine, is wordy and is layered. And it's like you have all these words and thoughts that are competing for space in your mind and it's spilling out into the songs. How did you develop that style?
Because of me, I'm just joking.
It's all me.
All in his, before he was even born yet.
You know what? I think it was, I didn't really know. We were still trying to just grow, being so young, and the energy of the freestyle aspect and everything. I think more or less the dance kind of influenced me. I always told Madlib and Rome's, like, when I rhyme, I felt like, what would a B-boy sound like if he was rhyming on a beat? 1 minute he's like this, or 1 minute he's like that, and that was the one thing that always captured me. So it always depended on the beat, the concept or the vibe itself, so I can just flow in and out of the track like I was doing a B-boy move or something.
Wow.
That was the best way I always felt like,
Wow, that's interesting because I've always looked at it, for me, it's not the B-boying because I can't dance at all. It's like a jazz horn solo, like a Miles Davis or Coltrane solo. It's like where those horn solos go, but then they got to come back to the beat at some point.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Word up.
So, Jack, my nickname was Wildchild.
No way.
Yeah, it wasn't for rapping though, but
Oh,
we
good.
share the
Wild
same
child.
nickname.
There's a few out there, actually, I think.
Yeah,
There's like a
man.
rock
We
band
might
or
have to have
something.
Yeah, I've
a
seen that.
battle.
Yeah.
A battle to see who gets to keep the name.
All good.
Challenge.
Let's go.
Miles, do you know your father's music well? And what's one of your favorite tracks or bars?
I'm not gonna be biased and say Soldier Story or something like that. This is about me, but I know my dad's music, and it's like it's just so weird talking about my dad's music for some reason. It's like, I don't know if this is just me or like any other person who's like a son of a rapper or whatever. But I've always grown up obviously listening to it like everywhere I went, everywhere I go. And I think just seeing him kind of go on tours or do shows, I didn't see as much as Kiana did because, she's older than me, so she went on tour more with you. But it's just weird just seeing the people just kind of react to his music and just dance to it. And from kind of like an outside perspective, I think it's just super dope seeing people, go crazy to his music. So
That's dope.
yeah.
My son Amani Fela also rhymes, and he's real ill with it, and it's good to see him rock. And he's on
That's
this
dope.
Arm & Hammer album. Have you heard this album?
Not yet.
He's on the last song.
I've been catching. I think was it your daughter?
My daughter rhymes too.
Yeah, that's
Kiani
yeah,
Ashe. I was gonna talk about her later.
that I'm hip.
She just moved to LA. I'm gonna have to plug her with y'all.
Oh,
She's
okay.
moved out here to
That's
go
dope.
to engineering and production school.
Dope to see, man.
Yeah, man, it's real dope. Again, with Lootpack, man, that Sound Pieces, the Antidote album is a classic.
Word, I appreciate it.
Shout
man.
out to DJ Rome's,
Yes.
who I work with often. Of course, Madlib. Of course, Oh No, who I think is extremely underrated. He has provided me with some of my best soundscapes in my career. So you and I have a lot in common. Dilated Peoples, of course, was on that album. Shout out to Evidence, who's also a friend of the show.
Yes.
Shout out to Rocka and Babs and everybody. Shout out to the Alkoholiks. I had Madlib on the show, and the one regret is I didn't ask Madlib about the licks and how the licks were influential to y'all. Can you break that down?
It kind of like started when I was at a record store, and I remember they came in. This is like the early. Can't put the exact date because I'll be all messed up if I say the wrong date. But I just remember working at a record store, and they actually came in, all three of them, which was weird because where we had in Oxnard, you just wouldn't think someone of what they're doing. I didn't know that they had family or whatnot in the city. They came in. They happened to be looking for. I think they were checking out something they had just got featured on, which was the joint with King T, the Trifling.
Right, what a great record.
Project. And this was like when Friday just first dropped, the movie Friday. And, and I'm the type that I was not really talkative. I kind of didn't know what everybody's mindset was. But when they came in, obviously I didn't recognize them. I don't even think they even had the name. No, they did have the name The Alkaholiks. That's right, because I was the first feature. But individually, I'd never met them. So
Because before it was just the Alcoholic crew.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they came in and, like any store, you're supposed to be playing the satellite music, what you hear, they're already pre-scheduled. But I happen to be playing our demo, and this is like one of several beat tapes that Madlib would call them beat tapes, but it was like our first demo, raw freestyle format. And, I'm always, picking people's brains like, yo, what do you guys listen to? What you looking for? I thought they were looking for just regular music. Like, what do they hear for, Sure enough, they were looking for that single and asked, what's this playing? And back then, like I said, I was just like, I didn't even really say it was. I don't even think it took me a minute to even say it was our stuff. I was like, oh, you feeling this? Something like that. You feeling this?
Right.
And immediately that was the moment that I think it was like Tash that gravitated towards the vibe of what he was hearing. And their style was like really influential because it was the first time we were hearing someone else say they get the same rep of not sounding like what, quote unquote, their area kind of pinpointed them to sound like, where, back in then it was more like West Coast gangster, whatever type of stereotype depicted on certain artists. That's how they were, sounding. And I remember
I used
when
to
they,
ask you that all the time.
and they wanted to work with us. Sure enough, one of the songs on the demo ended up being the Turn the Party Out joint that you heard on the 21 and Over album. And from there, it was history, man. So salute to them always.
Yes.
I see them all the
E.
time.
Swift,
And
Tash, J-Ro.
Yeah.
Now, back to that b-boying thing you said.
yeah,
Every time I speak to you online, a lot of times, especially when we first started speaking online, I would be like, yo, that when I'm on a mic. And, I've talked about it in interviews. I mean, I'm sure people come up to you about that song all the time. That song just captured a moment. And that song is like a dedication to b-boys. And the whole energy of it is like a b-boy vibe. And so for you to say you were writing as if a b-boy would write, that makes sense. What inspired you to become a b-boy?
obviously watching, cats like Rocksteady Crew and whatnot. But to be honest, it was also, like cats like the Soul Brothers and
So that history.
yeah.
Mob Top
Tell that history. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Mob
Mob
Top. You
Top.
talking about Rubber Band, Peekaboo
Yeah.
and them? Oh man, they don't know. Jack.
Exactly,
They don't
man.
know.
No, man, this is
They don't
this is
know.
like that history. But I grew up before rhyming, listening to a lot of house and alternative music. My best friend who got me into rhyming, rest in peace, in verse. That's actually Madlib's cousin. He's the one that got me, and I was friends with him. That's how I actually ended up linking up with Madlib. But his uncle was one of the stage coordinators at Soul Train. So when we would roll the Soul Train on a weekly
Soul
basis,
Train?
Soul Train.
I'm just doing what Katie Couric did to y'all.
Oh yeah.
Soul Train.
Soul Train.
She couldn't believe you said Soul
Yes.
Train. She was like, Soul Train.
Yeah, man.
Now
It
you
is
gotta
what you
tell
people
my
do,
girl
right?
now.
Going up to Soul Train, you know, and this would be like to me before we had even a car. So we would always, you know, hit up Madlib or Rome's, whoever was able to just roll us out. But when we would get there, we would always obviously go see our favorite artists that we would like to see. And, you know, sometimes we would skip class, you know, to get out there and stuff. Never made it to the Soul Train line though. But
Oh no.
when we would get
Did you
there,
ever see
I remember.
Afion?
No, we was there when Don was still there.
Okay. No, I'm talking about when
This is
Afion was a dancer.
Yeah, I know, and he used to go there, but I
Oh,
think
he was
his
there with like
journey,
Shamar Moore.
his
era.
yeah,
Okay,
his
okay,
journey
okay.
started, I think, maybe just after us. But we would see a lot of groups there, and we was all dancing. I mean, even a lot of people know Madlib is the producer or whatnot. You know, me with the mic or whatnot. But we met popping. You know, that's how we. I remember we battled or something. But the Soul Train got me a first eye contact of seeing the energy outside of where we grew up, and that dance aspect was intact full. So we saw brothers like the Soul Brothers and a lot of the OG guys from the Electric Boogaloos, you know, would be up in there. And by then, we didn't know them by name, but we knew who they were. And we come to find out later who they were, learning the history or whatnot. But that whole influence was just dope to see, and it grew from there.
No doubt.
Well, after a couple of glasses of rosé, I do think I'm a B-girl, but I'm in my mind. But you've obviously shared your love of the B-boy culture with Miles.
Yeah.
And Miles, how did your dad inspire you to start dancing?
I would say it would always be when I was super young, like before I can even remember. He would always, every time he would come back home from a tour or like wherever a show, he would always record like everything. He would record all the crowd, he would record all the dances, the ciphers, everything, and he would just show me like how all different cultures would dance to his music, especially like when I'm on the mic and like, you know, there's other songs that he would have, and I just thought it would be super dope to like see like all the different cultures, I guess, dancing his music. Obviously, you know, like Michael Jackson, James Brown, and I just think it would just be those people that I would just watch all the time on my TV and just like get inspired by that and by that, you know, by that culture. And I just thought it was like, I have to do this. I have to mirror this. So I think once I started doing that, and then it translated in me like doing my own music. Obviously, the Electric Boogaloos on Soul Train, he would show me that all the time. And I would just say those clips and those videos that he would always show me just inspire me to start for sure. So
That's really beautiful.
Awesome.
And when I see y'all dance together online and the clips y'all put up, it's like
yeah,
exuberant black joy.
yeah,
And we don't
yeah.
get to see black men in that light that often. So I appreciate y'all doing that. Y'all went very viral with the Optimistic Challenge.
Yeah.
Now, Miles, you're too young for this, but I remember when Optimistic came out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And it was like, I remember it was like a huge hit in the hood.
Yeah.
On the radio, they played every day. And it's like the way that song feels, you know, y'all were doing the Kid and Play.
Yeah.
You were doing the Biz Marquee dance. Rest in peace to
Yeah.
Biz.
Rest in peace, Biz, yes.
Speak to us about the importance of that song to black people and the importance of celebrating black joy amongst fathers and sons.
Even that time period was really dope because I think, Miles was still in public school. We found out that he got his report card and got straight A's on his, you know.
Yeah.
I love the
And-
origin story.
Yeah. And I remember we just wanted to celebrate, you know.
Sounds of
and-
Blackness. I got to shout him out.
Sounds of Blackness,
and
yeah.
Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, you know. So it's like when we found out he got the straight A's or whatnot, we just wanted to celebrate. So I just said, turn the camera on. That's why we didn't really care what we were wearing or, you know, we weren't trying to be, you know. To me, it wasn't really about doing the videos because we would do videos like that all the time. We just rarely share them, you know. But in that moment, it was just like, yo, you know, turn the camera on. And I even tried to pull my daughter, my wife in it, but they were like, nah, we good.
He was like, we celebrate.
Yeah, we celebrate. Yeah,
family
literally, we were
thing.
like celebrating. The first song that came to mind like that was that song because that song's so timeless. And even when I showed him, which I usually show him all the songs if we're gonna do something where he might have an opinion on something, but as soon as we played that, we were just like, boom. And it just coincidence, we saw that there was like a challenge going on. So I'm like,
Really? It was a
it was like
coincidence.
some
Yeah,
form
there
of
are
a
no
challenge.
coincidences.
There's always
Yeah,
challenge.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
there's
that's
like
true,
always.
yeah.
There's like the first. I think that was the first time there was.
Y'all don't even understand how much he used to play the song in the car. Like
Yeah.
I don't even understand.
That's why you
Yeah.
was able to move to it like that. You knew
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
You know, the drums, all that. But it was just like we just wanted to vibe and just feel good about what the news we just heard. I mean, we didn't really explain why we were doing it. We just did it because we didn't know it was going to get any attention until after. It was just crazy because the feedback was like, it still gives me chills to this day because the messages I've got from other fathers or fathers who don't have their father, it was a lot of messages coming from here to overseas.
Yeah.
And I would show him like, look what, you know, because at one time I didn't even really like social media, you know, when he first was brought up into this entertainment thing. And I said, if you show what you normally do, you never know what impact it can have. And that was one of the moments. And, you know, I was kind of like, I don't want to really show it. You know, I was like that until I think I met Donnell. Donnell told like, you know,
Donnell
Rawlings?
Charlamagne, yeah. They were like,
Friend of the
don't be
show.
afraid to show that because we need to see more of that. So I think I needed to hear more of that. And that's why we just try to like here and there. We do stuff here and there sometimes. So.
Shout out to Donnell and his son
Yes.
Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah. I spent the summer with them. It was beautiful.
Oh,
Oh,
what
that's
up?
dope.
Miles, you have been on Chris Brown videos and Ellen and
Yeah.
you know all this mainstream pop appreciation. America's Got Talent, but the way I heard of you was through hip hop circles, through like DJ Babu and people like that. So it's like hip hop
That's
really
dope.
appreciates you
That's dope.
because you appreciate the real hip hop.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Jabberwockies, of course. Your Baby Boogaloo videos are the stuff of legend. To get
That's
prepared for this, the Bust a Move situation, I had texted that video to this team.
Yeah.
Ease on down the road. What you're doing to that Michael Jackson song.
How y'all finding these videos? Oh my God, y'all was story.
Yeah, he was like, take those videos down. Take those videos.
But
I never thought he'd want to.
I
man.
was in the Wiz because my family, I come from family actors in the scene
Yeah.
with Lena Horne singing.
Yeah.
If you believe in yourself.
Were you the Munchkin?
No, I was.
I know you went the Munchkin.
Ah.
I know you.
That
went.
was
I think I
corny.
mentioned this.
It happens sometimes.
Nah, it's
Crazy.
all good. In that competition, you got to stand an ovation. They bowed to you. They were
Yeah.
And it was because you weren't just dancing. You were writing.
Yeah.
You were creating a story.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
were
yeah.
acting. It's no coincidence, like we said, there's no coincidence. There's no coincidence that you became an actor. And you know, even when I saw you interviewed on TV, you'd be like, I want to be a dancer, actor, rapper. Like this, okay, it's manifest destiny.
Right.
The Last Dragon, you got the glow. Like, how do you like this? I'm just
crazy.
bugging out because Jack, these are things that I grew up on.
Right,
He's on down
right.
the road, you got the
Right.
glow.
Right.
What was that jazz song?
It was it was a remix that Step Up the film.
Oh, Step Up 3.
used.
Oh, and you
Step Up
did
3.
Step
Yeah,
Up
Step Up
3
3.
3D. You said this ain't Step Up 3D.
Yeah.
Just tell us about that time in your life and how old were you?
I don't remember how old I was. I don't know if you had the date on that, but I think it was like
6.
I was like 6 or
Yeah,
something.
'cause
Wow.
This
they
was
were
this is
talking about
after
that.
AGT.
So you're
right?
already
Yeah,
a vet at 6 years old doing it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that. It was just more like, and this was in I think Vancouver or Montreal or something like that.
Yep.
And never been to Canada before. I was like, this is a whole new thing. And I remember us like kind of practicing this and like kind of going over like the whole backpack and the whole like
Yeah, you had props,
thing. It's so
stagecraft,
fluffy. I remember that
razzmatazz.
whole
Yeah, mom had to do with that. Mom had a lot
Oh
to do
yeah,
with that too.
she helped record the
Shout out
voice
to
memos. Yeah, it was just crazy because it was like I would always. I'm not gonna say I would get so nervous, but I would get so excited. Like before I would go on stage, I would just get so excited.
Yes.
And just performing it, it was just kind of just letting it all out. And I think it was just dope. I was not expecting that, standing ovation. And something funny was I think that was Mother's Day, right?
That was Mother's Day.
That was Mother's Day, so we were there. Yeah, and I don't know if it's on the video, but like after the standing ovation, I went up to the mic. I was like, "Happy Mother's Day to my mom." She's probably not here to see this, but
And the crowd lost their
I'm in the
mind.
side. I'm on the
Yeah,
side,
yeah,
just
yeah.
crying. I was just like, oh man.
yeah.
That was dope. That was a dope moment in time for sure, man.
Oh man, I'm trying to take all out of my vocabulary. I keep making myself older and older. Like, I remember when you were just a little.
Yeah.
So as we were just talking about Katie Couric, you went on there and you were on there for about a few seconds before she decided to ask to touch your hair.
Yeah.
We all are Solange
Yeah.
nose over here. Like, don't touch my.
So were we. That just happened so quick. Yeah.
She did it twice though.
It's always crazy. I remember the first time a white person touched my hair, I really didn't know how to feel because I wasn't used to being around white people.
Exactly.
So I was like, wow, this hasn't happened. Like, what are you supposed to do? So in that moment, like, were you feeling awkward? Like, how did you feel? And how did you feel about it after? And tell us about why it's so important that we have to feel comfortable with putting the white fascination with blackness in check.
I would say it's crazy because, I mean, this is probably just my personal experience, but like when I would go to school, like, well, one, I gotta say my hair is crazy. Like I did have a crazy afro. But I will say like when I was in elementary school, like probably just the stuff going over my head, but that would happen all the time. Like that stuff would happen all the time. And I mean, it would be more just from the kids. I wouldn't say it would be like from a white person's perspective or just anything, but I think me going on there, I was so young, I didn't really notice what was really going on, if that made sense, until like I would rewatch that clip and like when, I don't know if you see my reaction when she asked, I was like, okay, but that was just, you know, the young, you know, me.
That was innocence.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think just rewatching, I was like, dang, like she really asked to touch my hair. And I mean, it was just crazy because it's like that's happened all the time. So it's
Right.
like, I guess that was kind of like the first instinct I've ever seen on camera of how like I would react to that question. But I mean, over time, it's just, I feel like every single time it's like people have kind of seen how that's happened and I feel like that's happened to everyone once in a
Yeah,
while.
if his sister was there, that would not have happened.
How did you
Yeah.
feel about it, Jack?
You know what? It happened so fast that it's almost like any minor.
Right.
To me, it happened to be my son, but with any minor or you know, kid, you would think, how could you do something like that without approval of a parent
Exactly.
or whatever it may be? In this case, you know, just touching his hair like that. And at that time, you know, me and my wife were just parents, you know, and you get the quote unquote stage parent feel if you speak up and say something, which I should have. But it happened so fast that it was just like, wow, I was not expecting to be in that environment where something like that would happen. I wonder if they're going to cut that from the clip. This is what I was thinking over the time. Like, I don't think they'll use that. Maybe the camera already stopped or whatnot. That's what I just was assuming. And I explained it to him afterwards, like, yo, if this ever happens and someone, you know, you got.
I don't think we ever talked about that before that even happened.
Yeah, before it happened, we did it because that was the first time that's ever been publicly done.
Right.
You know, but I think it made me aware also that we're getting used to a lot of the industry treating him like an adult because he's doing things that adults are doing.
Yeah.
You know, AGT was a little bit of awareness, but that was something we had to learn to speak with him on. Hey, when you're in the situations, a lot of times these people are going to talk to you. You're going to forget about the fun, the things that me and my wife would say, because they're going to treat you like an adult because you're doing these things in that space. So I felt in a way he's getting a lesson and kind of growing up quicker than normal. But at the same time, if this happened at school, we probably might be saying the same thing.
Right.
And it's crazy to think because that was so long ago. Like imagining if that would happen now, like it would just be just so much different.
You're right about that. The culture has shifted to whereas whether or not you felt like offended or not,
Yeah.
It would have been.
if it happened
It would've been
today,
everywhere,
It would have
right?
went
Yeah.
viral and they'd be
Yeah.
like, how dare she?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The culture was
Yeah.
different back then.
I know she came from a nice space, but she's just unaware of what impact that can have.
Soul Train?
That's what
Y'all
it-
watch Soul Train? She couldn't believe that you said that.
Yeah, that happens so many times. That's what, you know what, man? It's like when people say that, I wish they would ask more because the guy was exposed to stuff like that when he was, what, 3, 4?
Yeah.
So, of course, and he loved it. It wasn't like I was just going, here, this is
Right.
what he really loved it. And, you know,
Right.
And what was
right-
the other show that you would always show me besides Soul Train?
Graffiti Rock.
Graffiti Rock. Yeah,
Graffiti
yeah,
Rock. That was like one season, right?
Yeah.
I don't know
But
that.
like
Yo,
Saturday morning
graffiti,
cartoons, it would either be, you know, you would think it'd be sports. This guy would ask, can we hear some funk music or watch another, you know. And
I never
dope.
started listening to actual music like that was coming out like recent, like of that time until probably like when Kendrick dropped like
Yeah.
To Pimp a Butterfly. Like before that,
That's
I
crazy.
always listened to either his stuff or like funk music in the car. Like I never really listened to that. So.
Same with my son. Like the same thing. Shout out to Oxnard. Definitely such a hotbed of creativity.
Yes, yes.
Shout out to Med, Dudley Perkins, everybody. The second Protocol album, Jack, is an underrated classic. You and I have the distinction of touring with MF Doom. You said your first show with MF Doom, right?
Yes, yeah, my first show ever. Well, obviously, I would say his was my first show. But I guess of another artist would definitely be MF Doom. And it's hard to remember everything because I was so young, but I think just the timing was just crazy, knowing like what he's told me about, Doom before I've seen the show. And it's like, I think everything that I've seen and heard about him wasn't even from an artist's perspective for me because I was so young. Like, I think just the image of him and the mask and just the kind of persona that he put on was just so interesting to me. And like I said in one of my songs, like I seen him in concert and I was like, yo, I need the mask. I've always begged him, and he was like, if you get good grades, maybe I'll give you a mask. And that was my first show, and I think that kind of just started the ball rolling on like kind of wanting to kind of be more interested in other styles of music other than my dad or other than funk music. So,
and to clarify, his first rap concert was Doom. He'd been to all other concerts, but they were all funk and soul concerts.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. Rest in peace to Doom.
Yeah.
That mask was the mask from the movie Gladiator.
Yeah.
Not actually the Dr. Doom mask.
Yeah.
Doom, Dilla. Y'all said y'all saw me perform at Dilla Day.
Yes.
You have a record, Rest in Beats. That's on the Jack of All Trades. Definitely got to shout out Dilla. Definitely got to shout out Planet Asia, Feel the Agony, because we connect many different ways.
Yeah,
that's my family.
Right.
Fresh Air with Georgia Ann Muldrow. That's an incredible record.
Appreciate it.
A Custom Love. I could particularly relate to that story. You know the song Mr. Nigga with Mos Def?
Yes.
He's talking about me and my people in Heathrow.
Yes.
They said black our skin is illegal, whatever he said in that record. We were I got triggered listening to Custom Love because I've had many adventures with customs.
Yep.
But there's one particular time where Yasin and High Tech and Rest in Peace to Shaka, we landed in London. And he details it in the song, but they arrested us and they held us for 6-7 hours. They drove us to the hospital, put us in hospital gowns, x-rayed our stomachs.
Wow.
They were like, we know y'all got the drugs. And on your song,
What?
you say that they apologized to you. You say sorry.
Yes.
But with me, I'll never forget this. After they did all this and they couldn't find anything, I said, yo, y'all not even gonna say sorry? And the guy said, sorry for what? I'm just doing my job.
Violating me.
Violation.
deep.
But
That's crazy.
that's his job to do that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And that custom thing, that actually happened to me with him when we were at the Canada.
I was
event.
at that same thing.
Yeah,
Canada's
because
the
we almost
worst.
didn't get through.
I can't remember anything. So when you
Yeah.
say this, I'm like, that's
He
crazy.
thought, he thought we were going to jail. He was like, what did we do?
Oh my God, we would be in there. I remember we were
Yeah.
there, and I had no phone, nothing. I was just there for like.
They won't let you be on your phone, right?
Well, I didn't even have one. I was so young. This was when I was
Yeah.
like 6, something like that.
Because it was a surprise
That's funny.
thing.
That's a generational thing. He was like, I was 6. I didn't even have a
I
phone.
didn't even have a phone.
I know.
But
I know.
It was crazy. It felt like they did let us through, but the way they let us through just threw me off.
Yeah.
The person helping us was not feeling us. It was the person next to them. I think it was a female, by the way. She happened to recognize him, and that was the only
No
reason
way.
why we got help. In my mind, that wasn't making me feel better just because you recognized him
That's
while
why
this
you're
guy's
open.
over here still doing what he did. It seemed like, well, what if you didn't recognize him?
Yeah.
This guy's over here feeling like, torturing, like we want to, because I don't know, they're just deep like that. I don't know the history with why it's set up like that, but it's just,
I have been Canada, on a more adult situation. I'll tell you some stories. Canada border, it's been a problem, man. I have an arch nemesis at the Canada border.
Yeah.
This guy has like,
That's
for real, this
crazy.
guy has like
Looking for you,
missing
look- I know.
fingers. For real, he's like a real super villain.
oh, wow.
Crazy.
That's
Wow.
not to disparage the missing finger community. I'm just saying
Nah,
this
right.
particular person
Right.
Yeah,
has missing fingers. That's not what makes him a supervillain. It's him not letting me into Canada.
that's
Oh,
crazy.
I don't know
Thank
what
you.
it
We're
is.
not trying to get you canceled over.
I think the weird thing is like the more you say it, because when I went through it, I thought it was so isolated. Then the moment I start mentioning it to other people, other artists or whoever, and they're talking about the whole world, and they say Canada. Everyone's,
You think Canada was the worst that we've experienced?
that was the worst.
But
I would
gotta
have never
say-
expected that though, because
Yeah.
I don't know why, because Canada's still But I would have thought you were gonna say like France or some other country. But I mean,
You would think it
I
would
could
be.
see that.
Well, we have American privilege. I would be willing to wager that for the rest of the world, America is harder to get into than Canada.
See,
Oh,
that
you
I
think
haven't
so?
experienced
I would
that.
wager
never-
that.
I
haven't heard someone
We're
explain
born
it that
here,
way.
so we wouldn't
Right.
know.
America's not hard. Just ask Texas.
Yeah.
Nice.
Exactly.
Miles, let's
Yes.
talk about one of my favorite shows, Blackish.
Yes.
How did you land the part on Blackish? Did you audition with Kenya Barris? Like, how? walk us through that process.
This is probably one of the craziest experiences. So I would say that I'm gonna just say it started at the concert, to be honest.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that story too. That's crazy.
I mean, I don't think I've ever really said this, but I mean, so I got Blackish, I was 9, or I was 8 turning 9, and I think I met Anthony. I met Anthony before at this concert, and who was there that Mom wanted to see?
New Edition.
New Edition, yes.
Robin Thicke.
Robin Thicke was there.
Yes,
But Cameo happened to be
Yes,
there,
Cameo,
and that's one of his favorite bands.
Cameo.
That's why we wanted to go.
Blackman.
Yeah, it was a random, and so we only went.
Word up.
just to
Dude,
see
we listened to
Cameo.
Cameo all day.
Yeah.
Word up.
And I met Anthony there, like just as, Baby Boogaloo, like that was just me. And got a picture with him. I have the whole picture. And I remember I auditioned for Blackish. I think it was like 2 years after.
No, it was actually a year.
Oh, it was a year after.
It was a year, yeah.
And I did my first audition. It was just, with a lady in the camera. Then I got the call back. Oh, should I explain the Kevin Hart thing?
Yes,
up to you.
explain
Okay,
it.
yeah.
Explain it
Okay,
all.
so
Tell
I
us.
gotta explain the whole story. So the craziest, I guess, moment, because that could have led to me not even being like in this situation, because at the same time I auditioned for that, there was this Kevin Hart show that was being made, like the same year Blackish was being made. And obviously this was 2014, like Kevin Hart was like hot.
Right.
And I remember I did the audition for Blackish, did the audition for Kevin Hart like the same day, just going back and forth. And then I did the callback for Blackish, and the callback was what you said with Kenya Barris, Anthony, all the writers, all the producers. That was probably the most nerve-wracking audition I think I've ever done. Like to this day, like it was, I think, like 9 people like that I've never seen in a room. So I did that. I brought up to Anthony how I met him before, and he was just like, he just loved kind of like my personality and just the afro. I had my big afro.
Right.
And then after I did that, went straight to the Kevin Hart audition for a callback. And they loved me just as much. And it was just the crazy situation kind of going back and forth. Because like from going to not even going in this acting industry, starting from dancing to kind of being like played with from 2 different sides. And I think it was just crazy because one day it led up to our agent getting a call saying that both shows wanted to test for me.
Wow.
So it got up to a point where it was like, I'm going to have to sign with one of these shows. And obviously, for me, I would say most people would choose, the Kevin Hart show. 20 at the time, he was mad hot. Like, I don't know what it was specifically that made you guys want me to kind of pick the Anthony one over. I think it was more family friendly.
And he wasn't familiar with a lot of Anthony's work.
Yeah, at the time.
Anthony had done
Kangaroo
so
Jack.
much work in
Yeah.
television
So
and
much
film
work.
at that
But
time.
but I think
And
because of
Kenya was his
age-
name wasn't
Yeah.
what
I think
it
with
is
his,
now.
with his age, a lot of the work that Anthony's done, the films that I would probably throw out would be too old. I'm not gonna say too old, but
What, y'all don't like
more
Kangaroo
adult.
Jack?
No,
Inappropriate.
not
I think
just that one.
I
That
think
was the
you
one
said
he
we don't like
seen.
what?
Kangaroo
That was the
Jack.
one
I
he
think
Or
Kangaroo
seen.
Malibu's
Jack.
Most Wanted. That's one of my
Yeah,
favorite
but I think
movies.
he had
Jack
it-
was
that
the
would be
one
too
that I
old.
seen.
But
It
he hadn't
is.
seen
It's
like
inappropriate. Yeah.
Transformers. He hadn't seen, but a lot of the.
I think
'cause
the only ones I
Anthony's-
seen pre with that, like I would know was Anthony was Kangaroo Jack. I think that would
Yeah.
be the one. Maybe
But-
Transformers. Yeah.
But me and my wife just said, let's just talk it over and see what we felt. If this is your first thing, because it was really overwhelming, and then we kind of came to a consensus, like this is more family orientated.
I remember the day they sent both pilot scripts. And I remember the day I came home, we had our little desk and we had 2 scripts. I still remember this. There was one script and one script. I didn't even read over it fully, each one. And I don't know, I was just kind of just letting them take the wheel.
We just said sleep on it. Which one he went? We knew.
parenting.
We honestly knew he was really getting in tune to Kevin Hart, because Anthony's body of work to me was bigger than Kevin, because Kevin was more fresh on the scene kind of. But in the morning when we explained to him, this seems more up your alley as far as the family content, that's what we felt. And we knew we were taking a risk, but we just gave our opinion.
I didn't know what that could do though, because like when they were making this decision, I didn't know that shows had a chance of being canceled or not even being picked up in the first place, or that I would even be on the show this long, or like I thought it was just for the pilot and that was it. And crazy, because now to say if we were to pick that Kevin Hart show, that show wasn't never
Didn't
picked
go
up.
anywhere.
Never
It
even.
wasn't.
Yeah.
So I would never, it's just a crazy situation to think about.
Break down the audition once you did decide. Remember right before that, who we met at the audition.
Yeah.
'Cause
Okay,
that's-
yeah, I got to go back to the callback when I did for the show. So what's crazy was, since I'm a twin on the show,
Which
shout
I
out to-
didn't know for like the first. It took me a while to realize that y'all were supposed to be twins.
Yeah,
I don't know why it took me that long.
But shout out to Marseille Martin. Obviously,
Yes.
she's
Yeah,
the
shout
go.
out Marseille.
The craziest thing I would say about that was we normally during that callback they would bring in 2 kids at a time that like just we're all strangers to each other. So they would grab one boy, grab one girl, bring him in as twins, and let them read together. And the craziest thing, what was the game called that I seen that she had on her iPad or something? It was Disney Infinity. Y'all probably don't know what that is.
I have no idea.
Come on, man.
I'm not like that. Not like that.
I mean, he looped me in with you, Talib.
Not like that. But she was playing this. She was playing
I know.
this.
Like,
It was like a room
I'm
of
still in my
like 100
30s.
people.
It was a room of like 100 kids. Never seen this many kids in audition before, and I seen her playing this game that I was like dying to play before I got here, and I was like, yo, like she has it in the iPad version. I never seen this before. Went up to her, started talking to her about this, and we just I guess the producers kind of walked out the door from the audition, just seen us talking, and I guess they just seen the chemistry that we've never like talked to each other before. I assumed that we were like good friends or something. So we went in together. They brought us both in at the same time. We nailed it. And then I remember as soon as we got out, Carol, the mom of Marseille, she just took a picture of us because she knew, she knew that it was gonna be more than just the audition, if that made sense.
They might work together in the future.
Right.
Who knows,
Craziest thing was we both had syrup stains on our shirts from 2 different places that same morning, and it's just I don't know. That's just probably the most weirdest thing. But
And also they sat right next to each other in a whole room of 100 people.
Wow.
We just happened to go sit and we sat. We never met, and they're sitting, and then that's when he was like, "What are you playing?" So it was just we always talk about that. On set. So yeah.
I don't think if I was there at that moment, I don't think we probably would have been placed together, which would have led to us not even being on the show together.
Wow, that's serendipitous.
Yeah.
We definitely want to shout out Marseille for being the youngest producer of movies in history.
Yes.
Quite an accomplishment for a young
crazy
black woman.
Yes.
Shout out to Yara Shahidi. She has laid a path for you and others for how young actors can transition from child actor to adult star and build on the success of a hit sitcom and also do social justice work. What have you learned from her?
I mean, I think mainly, and it's crazy because I would say out of all the people on the show, when it comes to, I guess, standing in for what you believe in and I guess kind of taking, I guess, my age seriously, because I know a lot of people might take, us not as seriously because I'm younger. But I would say the one thing I've learned from her is that you can take on any position in the world, no matter what age you are, or no matter what race you are. And that's actually dope that you brought that up because now I'm thinking about it. Like, that's actually crazy. Like, I remember we would be on set, Yara started, I think when she was 14 or 15, and she would just be I guess she would, I'm not gonna say she would always be like conversating with Anthony or Tracy about other topics that, obviously me and, Marseille were too young at the time to know about. But I just kind of seeing how serious she took everything in the world and how things are being ran and just her position on everything is just crazy at her age. And it's just, it's so dope to see for sure. Yeah.
Word up.
And the parents too. Salute to the
parents.
parents,
Yeah.
man.
Right, she also has a
Learning
good
by
mom.
example, just seeing them and, Yara's parents, all of them, especially Marseille's parents, seeing them navigate, it was a learning process for myself as well too.
Yeah. I would say for her, like, I think one thing I've learned is that I'm never too young to have an opinion on anything. So, and it's like when some people be like, "Oh, you're too young to like even have an opinion," or like, "Why would you give your opinion? You're too young to experience something." I would say like, I don't think I need to because I can already see my output on something and know what I think is right or what's wrong. So
That's right.
I stood in for Yara on the Nice for What video, and I remember her mom.
Oh, I was so hyped when I seen that. Oh my gosh, I was spamming her when I seen that. I was like, "There's no way Drake just put you in the video."
It was
Oh,
secretive.
yeah.
They didn't even play the song on set.
You rap on
Oh,
your
yeah.
album about
Yeah.
getting your friends Drake tickets too.
Yes. Shout out to Drake. So.
Shout out to Marcus Scribner in the dynamic of your relationship. Do you ever talk alone with Anthony and Kenya about which complexities of the bond among black males that you want to bring to light?
I mean, I feel like we didn't even need to have those conversations because they were already being had like on set while we were filming. Because we've had episodes about complexity and our race and our colors from being lighter skin, darker skin. And I think it was more necessary to have those conversations on set because we couldn't ignore it. Like there were certain people, obviously we're all different. I think that's what makes our show so special instead of all having us, be black, but being one type of black or being one, skin color, race. And I think that it's just dope having both, I guess, kind of sides to certain topics on our show. And it was just a crazy episode because we all look different even though we're all the same. And I think that's kind of the message that we wanted to get across because I know we're all black, But even though we look different, we can relate to that with other races, even though we all look different. So I think it's just it was a necessary conversation that we needed to have on our show for sure.
Yeah, Blackish brings up a hell of a lot of necessary conversations.
Yeah.
Y'all do it all the time. The fans often chatter online about which is their favorite episodes, but one episode that always comes up is the word episode.
Yes.
Now, that episode is a fun episode.
Yeah.
You look like you were having fun performing.
Never realized how deep of an episode that was filming it at all.
We played his role well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your take on that word now?
I feel like the usage of that word has translated differently throughout so many different times. Just by on who says it or how some people might take it or how I still think that it's just a word that is so delicate and so, I guess, carefully that needs to be what's the word I could say that needs to be, I guess, taken care of. And I feel like a lot of people are kind of losing sight on how strong that word is, especially coming from us or people like that look like us. And it's like, I think, I don't know, being so young and me saying it, I kind of didn't understand how much of an impact that can say among people who are my age or my friends or whatever. And I just think that it's just such an important word that people are kind of losing grasp on how important that word needs to be. So,
did you ever see All of Us did an episode about that word where they had the young kid on the show?
That's a throwback.
All of Us with Dwayne Martin?
Oh, no, I've never seen that.
I don't think.
Theirs was a little bit more gangster than Blackish.
Really?
Yeah.
Probably, what network was it?
I don't know. I was like one of those UPN.
Was it on UPN? It was Will
probably why.
Smith's show.
That's why they could go more
why.
gangster.
It was about Will
Y'all got
Smith
Disney.
and his...
Yeah, we couldn't go fully. We would have.
It was crazy though, man. Even trying to have that conversation with him, like, yo, you saying this, but just be cautious, But it's hard because he was young, which made sense why he was the one that they isolated.
Yeah. And it was a necessary episode. Like, I can say for every black kid growing up, especially, I wouldn't say in more like a suburban area where that word is not used very often. I guess probably in the show, it wasn't used that often in our household. And I guess growing up for kids, I feel like every kid is going to have that, or every black kid is going to have that conversation with their parents. So that was a dope episode to kind of show on the screen.
Well, the show Blackish leads to a lot of difficult and necessary conversations in the country and just for everybody who's watching the show.
Yeah.
But I can imagine just in terms of your own internal family dynamic as someone who's starring on the show, it can be difficult conversations. And I think about the crime and punishment episode.
Oh, yeah.
And
So many. It's so hard to like remember everything.
Right.
yeah, I mean, this is one of my favorite episodes. We had Anthony Anderson on the show. Who was a joy and pleasure to have on the show. We talked lovingly about you and your music. But we talked about the crime and punishment episode, and Anthony talked about his relationship with his mom, which is different from my relationship with my mom. My parents did not believe in corporal punishment. His parents absolutely did. Him and Jasmine exchanged stories about being slave beat, which was a term that I had never heard.
I can relate to that. I can relate to that.
Can you?
And it's hard to have this conversation with people who feel like what I said to Anthony, who feel like, the way that my parents punished me in that way, using spanking or whatever, made me into the person I am today. And it's hard to be like, okay, that your parents did that, their intention was out of love. And then in today's society is looked at as abuse. So me and Anthony, we were on different, because I asked him, I said, do you always agree with the position the show takes? Because the show took the position that it's abuse and that you should use your words, and the father saying, I'm disappointed in you was more. So I'm just wondering what kind of conversation y'all had in your household around an issue like that.
I would say, I think this is just from, my parents, the way they I guess raised me. Was I didn't think I really needed that as much, and I feel like what they did however they would punish me, it really it took a toll, and I didn't need to be spanked or I didn't need that. And I think that they seen that because I was so delicate as a child, not physically, but I'm saying anything that could have been to punish me, it wasn't needed necessarily. If I was a super bad kid or I was getting in trouble everywhere, then it would probably be a different story. But
that's what you said that's what I was gonna say. When
I don't know about him as a kid though. He was telling me some stories, but
I mean, I think it was a more detriment to my grandparents more than my actual parents. The vibe was, the punishment was, like you were saying, if they corrected us once, if we got out of line after that, it was called for some form of hands-on punishment. Not going to go into too much details on it, but obviously our generation is different than this guy's. But
Yeah.
I explained that to him, similar to the Blackish vibe of what Anthony went through in his upbringing, and he was worried that his sons or kids would go through the same thing. That's all I explained to Miles, and he understood it pretty much really early on. I think we caught him early on to explain that, where a lot of kids, my generation, maybe their parents weren't as hands-on as early. So by the time they become quote-unquote knuckleheads, it's hard to, teach them the way you want. So the punishment comes out of fear of what they're going to... I think my parents came from, or my grandparents came from a fear of what could happen
If you didn't get
if I didn't, if they didn't put a stamp. And so the talking may have just been, there may have been more of a gap in the conversational talk than hands-on.
Yeah.
So that's why I tried to shut that down. And once we did, like he said, we spoke more, we talked more, so our relationship was totally different.
Yeah.
I
would get scared of just words. Like I would just be like, oh, you're grounded for this. Like I didn't do nothing wrong. I'm not even gonna lie. So yeah.
Anthony brought up some good points about how, I talked about how my parents just didn't believe in it, and they got upset with my grandmother when she did do that to me.
Right.
And he said, my parents grew up, and a lot of parents just didn't have the language or the knowledge that there was another way.
Right.
To do it. Like we are taught
Right.
that this is the way
Exactly.
that you do it. And what you just said about, like they dealt, like you seen you dressed as a homeless guy.
Yeah.
In the show, you're like, he's gonna be homeless if we beat on him. He's gonna be homeless if we don't beat him.
That was so powerful, man.
Yeah.
I think it's a communication thing. I think that parents nowadays, they know different methods, because you see a lot of the elementary schools, they're now doing the meditation practice to where instead of you...
Wow.
Yeah.
He's like, I missed that.
Yo, what?
Yeah, like instead of you
When
getting
did they
put in
start doing
time
that?
out. But now it's like, it's communication. And as your parents said, it's like a sit down and talk. And I feel like this new generation is going to be more of a, let me explain to you why you should not do this, instead of a do as I say because I said it. Because when you explain why, then it's like, okay, I understand. And then with how you said with that you get nervous by loud words, if you talk to your children calmly, I feel
it
like
wasn't
you
even
can
the loud words. It wasn't even like that. It was just, I'm not gonna say I was such a good kid, where it was like, I would just be affected off like warning punishments, if that makes sense. Where like, I didn't need to like, okay, I know I'm not doing that. Like,
I feel like because with some people like that don't raise their voices or don't really curse people out, when they get upset, okay, let me stop before saying that. So if you do that practice, then I feel like it could come up totally different.
Well, it's just you want your children, you're raising a child, and if you use violence to solve a problem, the child's going to be like, I'm going to use violence to solve that problem.
But even bringing that back to Blackish, that's the one thing that I noticed our family has witnessed is not just Black people, but a lot of different cultures coming up to us at any given place, Cali, Europe, wherever it may be, and they say the conversations that they've had, they never probably would have even started had they not been watching a show like Blackish.
Oh, wow.
Right.
That's the one thing that always blows, the parents will come up and tell us. Sometimes we want Miles to hear that because it's like us telling them, I don't want it to seem exaggerated. Like these parents just told us this, So a lot of time we invite them in these conversations when people come up to, explain these things.
That's beautiful. I want to talk a little bit about the Black rules of Monopoly and your stellar performance, in my opinion, in an Advance to Go episode. Can you do, for People's Party, can you do the Give Me My Money for us?
Give me my money. And the craziest thing is, that's probably it was probably one of the most funniest episodes we shot, but at the same time, it was probably one of the worst. You wanna know why? Because one, I wasn't fully in knowledge of what was going on because I didn't know how to play Monopoly when we were playing. I would never play. That was not one of the games I would play.
Jack, come on.
I would be playing the other
Jack.
games. Yeah. Now I know. But that wasn't even why that episode was so brutal, because we had to sit like, how we was all in that same position. We never did one other scene of
It was a whole
us in
episode.
any other place.
Right.
Well, that's how
every
Monopoly
single time.
goes. That's a
It's
commitment.
It really be
Yeah.
taking
a
forever.
month-long event.
I
I thought it was
never
an
I
over-exaggeration.
never liked Monopoly, man. I don't know what it is.
It brings out the worst in people.
Well, you know what? I think I was just with friends that weren't into games.
When I play
Usually,
games,
it's
He
just a
said,
different vibe.
Me and my
Monopoly,
crew, we
yeah.
ain't no joke. We don't play games.
We don't play games. Not a PlayStation.
We'd be like on Uno and all that stuff. But go ahead.
Uno.
No, Uno's even worse.
Nah, Uno's. No. I would say for me,
That's also a
Uno,
game that
yeah.
has black rules, different
What?
black rules.
Yeah, different. Yeah, of course. I would say it's just crazy to think of because how long those games be taking. I remember we played Monopoly, and I think the very first time I ever played Monopoly was with my friends. And we stopped the game. We purposely stopped the game. We just quit because it took us. We were downstairs
game
and we were
never
playing
ends.
for more than like 2.5 hours, and I don't think we were gonna go nowhere.
Right.
It was
I
just-
played for
yeah.
6-7 hours. My grandmother, the one who popped me that one time.
Oh my
Rest in
god.
peace, Beverly. It used to, every Friday night was Monopoly at her house
Yes.
with her grandkids,
Wow.
and and she was a gambler. She used to go to OTB. She used to bet on the horses. And see what I'm saying? And but then that became an issue. So it's like we had to stop her from
And
gambling.
so Monopoly.
And then,
So we do
yeah.
Monopoly, but she would be like, "Yo, you couldn't like." It was serious.
and I had to took a lot of patience to play those games. That's why I think I wasn't into chess.
That's why you seen
that-
how Pops and Ruby was in that episode. They was no joke. Like
That's how
they
my
had the
grandmother
whole
was.
green suede suits on and everything.
Shout out to Tracy Ellis Ross, one of my
Yes.
idols, of
Yes.
true professional. What is your favorite story that you have with your TV mom? And can you tell me, or tell People's Party, not just me, a little bit about what you've learned from her about show business?
I would say what I've learned from her is just to kind of just stay like pure and just stay happy, because every single time I see like go through her Instagram or see what she's up to,
Happy.
she's just full of joy and just always happy in everything she's doing. So it's like every time I would see her on set or like I would catch her doing like a fitting or just any type of photo shoot, anything, like she would always be the most like energetic one, and like and you would expect me to because I'm the kid, but like I always kind of learned from her to always stay joyous and always stay kind of pure during those like kind of like boring and kind of like frustrating moments. So that's what I could say. I definitely learned. I would say my most memorable moment, I'm gonna bring up the Diana Ross.
I figured you would.
So obviously,
The
you
Boss.
know, obviously The Wiz, like,
Yes.
you know, that's like, that was my favorite movie.
Same.
And at the time, it had to take me a second for them to tell me that Diana Ross was her mom
Right.
before we started even working. So when I knew that, I was like, there's no way, you gotta be joking me. So I remember this one time we were just casually working, and then I see mad cars come in on set, mad cars. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, is the president here or something like that? And then we see him. And
The
then
boss was in
The
the house.
boss.
yeah. And then I wasn't able to see because I think I went into school or something, and I came out, and then I was like, what happened? What happened? And then everybody was telling me Diana Ross came to set to just say hi to Tracy, to just say hi. And that's a once in a, that was only happened once on set out of all the 8 years.
right.
And it was just a crazy moment because I remember that day on, I remember we got my Wiz vinyl that I've had forever. And I asked her,
Extra copy, not my copy.
Yeah,
You
extra
had your
copy.
own
Yeah, not here. But I remember I asked and I got Tracy to have her mom sign it, and that's not even the craziest part. But y'all gonna trip about this. So when we, so we went to Vegas. I remember, or we didn't go to Vegas. I remember Tracy invited me, Marcus, Marseille. I was gonna say Marseille and Yara to go to Diana's last show. I think during her tour in Vegas. So we went. And it was super lit. Obviously, you know, it was obviously what you're gonna expect from a Diana Ross concert. And all of a sudden, at like towards the end of the show, or not towards the end, but like 3/4 and the end of the show, she says, "Yo, can we get Miles Brown, Marseille Martin, Marcus Scribner onto the stage?"
Wow.
And then we start looking around like, "There's no way this happening."
dropped
Like
my
Tracy is amazing. And so we went on stage, and then she just started performing. I forgot exactly what song it was.
Upside down.
Upside Down, yeah. Oh
Sorry, I
my
remember
gosh,
Boy,
classic.
turn me
Yeah.
inside.
So we were on stage performing, and like it was just the time of our life. Like that was the most craziest thing. So
I
then
bet.
once we came off stage, super starstruck, like I can't believe that just happened. So we waited till the very end of the show, thinking we were about to go leave, and I forgot who stopped us, or it might have been Tracy telling us, but she said go backstage at the end of the show, like don't just leave. So we went backstage and they let us in, and as soon as we opened the door, it was like some 70s like crazy party going on with a whole disco. And maybe this was just because it was the last show of the tour, but it was filled with like just craziness, and she was like in the middle of the dance floor just dancing by herself to just music, random music.
New
And-
music, though.
New music.
Yeah.
And then it was crazy.
Like trap music.
A lot
It was,
of-
dude,
it-
they had all I knew was
Trying to- she was
win,
in there
win.
I think it was
Target.
Jay-Z. It was some Jay-Z, Kanye.
Just something. And
Yeah.
it was the most craziest moment because I would never think out of all the people I'd be dancing with on a dance floor right now would be Diana Ross.
Wow.
And I remember we would be dancing, and then at the very end, she was just signing people's vinyls, like I guess it was like a meet and greet thing. And she was telling me, and I'll never ever forget this. She said, "You remind me of one person." And she's like, "You remind me of Michael Jackson."
Wow.
And she said, because the way you was dancing, just how happy you looked, like you're obviously like your afro, like
That was crazy.
your look, everything. And I was like, I'll never ever forget that, because like obviously Michael's like, you know, like my biggest biggest idol. So I was like, that was crazy.
I got
That was
one
crazy.
moment of many. I just had to share.
And I got on video of us dancing when all I do was When came on from DJ Khaled, and we all
Wow.
threw our
That's
hands
what
up.
it
and
was. That's
that
what
was
it
the
was.
video.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
I'm gonna let you finish, but
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
gotta get that in there. Anyway, my bad.
I
I'm
think
gonna let you
season
finish.
1, when Blackish was really new, this was like a real life changing moment for us as a family. Everyone at the end of season 1 didn't know if the show was going to go on, and we're still learning how this pick up to the next season and on and on. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
And
You're talking about on the last episode?
last filming, yes. Everybody's celebrating. You know, like, you know, when you celebrate like you're not going to see each other, everyone's celebrating.
Yeah.
But this guy was in his emotional, because I think the whole
I thought
year,
it was over, to be honest. I thought we were just doing like one
Yeah.
season. And
Right.
I mean, actually, I don't know what I thought was gonna happen, but just the end.
Yep.
Like it was our first end, if that made
Yep.
sense. So like I didn't know how to like
If you were coming
take
back.
it. To be honest, yeah.
And everyone's just in their moments, you know, getting in contact. We're gonna stay in contact. You know how it is when you see each other after even like a tour or something. When you see, you know, you don't know when it's gonna happen. You hope, but I remember
this,
she
that's crazy.
pulled him to the side.
Tracy.
All the stuff that was going on. Everyone's celebrating pictures and, you know, like literally celebrating.
There's
It was
cakes,
a
there's all
joy and
types of stuff,
sadness at the same time. But he was probably the most emotional of the cast. And it caught us off guard. And so we were like, you know, kind of stunned. And I think before we had a chance to make him feel better, she was one of the first to pull him to the side. And can't remember exactly verbatim what she may have said to him, but her words was just, it kind of like it brought a peace to him.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
that to me, I told her that too, that, you know, that was the dopest Tracy moment for me.
Well, salute to Tracy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's such a blessing for you to be on set with so much Black brilliance and excellence.
Yes.
You know, Lawrence Fishburne, who we have to make sure we call him Lawrence.
Yes.
On this show, we call him Lawrence. And Jennifer Lewis and
Yes.
Wanda Sykes and just everybody who's been a part of that show. It's amazing. You're so lucky and you're so blessed. And your career is just starting. I'm looking forward to seeing you in more films.
Yes.
The Boy Genius movie with Rita Wilson. It looks on the surface like a lightweight movie, but it touches pretty heavily on race and white privilege.
Yes.
Were those elements in place when you read the script, or is that something that developed over time?
I think they were in the script at first, because shout out to director Bridget. She's awesome. She was super awesome. I would say that I think that the movie was very, I guess, lighthearted, but at the same time I wanted to get a lot of messages through, kind of like with Blackish, but not as more like, you know, deeply in touch. And I just think it was super fun to like kind of do as my first movie, because knowing that I don't want to do anything that didn't talk about anything and was just like just a movie, and that was it. But I just think it was super fun to film, and just shout out to Rita, she was awesome. And I
she's
think
awesome.
that whole process of kind of like going over these topics and ideas and kind of finding the best way to put comedy through it was funny.
Wow, Jack, you guys are raising a great young man. I see you just sitting there with pride and just like, wow, I made that.
It's still a work in progress, but the number one goal my wife and I said was just, as long as he's having fun and he loves what he's doing,
Right.
that's all we can do is sit back and watch, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Miles, you're the youngest member of the Junior NBA Leadership
Yes.
Council, and you're on first name basis with LeBron. You also did a track NBA. Did your father help you with those bars, or did you do them all on your own?
See, that's the craziest part, because, well, thank you. I'm gonna say thank you for the comment. But I mean, I think that was when I started saying I wanted to make an album. So that was, I think, the first song I released that I wanted to make an album for. We didn't put that on the album, but that was like when I got the idea that I wanted to start taking music. And I just think that was the perfect thing, because I remember when that was going on, I think it was All-Star Weekend was coming up, and I was like, the perfect time, I have to release this, because like I waited so long. Every bar like had something to do with one of my inspirations when it comes to basketball, like LeBron, Chris Paul, all the people I mentioned in that song. So I just think it was a super dope as like a first thing for me to do, since I love basketball and I watch it so much, where it was so natural for me to do. So that was an awesome song for sure. But for the Junior NBA, I'm gonna say that was just a crazy thing, like that whole process of me kind of being in that council. Whereas I met the people who worked there, I met the people behind the NBA, and I've kind of known them through dance, and a lot of the people I've met through dance and through hip hop transitioned into that field, into that NBA field. So that was a crazy coincidence. And I met them. I was able to go to the NBA office in New York, and they kind of gave me a little tour throughout the whole building, and then we ended up having this meeting, and I told them that I think what really made me kind of, and I could say this for I think a lot of other kids. What made me kind of have more knowledge about the NBA, and this might sound crazy, but 2K, like the game,
for sure.
hugely
I could say for me, and I could say for a lot of kids, that I learned a lot of these players through the game and knowing their names and their jersey numbers and what teams they play for. Like I didn't know every team until I played 2K. Now I just on the spot I could tell you every team, every player. And I think that was so important, and I kind of like pitched to them like, what if like I kind of wanted to be their like commissioner, the Junior NBA commissioner, where I was able to go to these games and interview these players, like questions, but from like a kid correspondent.
Yeah.
And did I say commissioner?
Yeah.
Hey man,
I
dream
was
big,
wrong.
dream big, right?
Wrong word. I said commissioner.
You have big
my
dreams.
bad. And correspondent. And I just thought it was so cool, because every day, like every time I watch a game, I would always say this, like watching the TV, like, man, like what shoes is this person wearing? Like I wish they could talk about what shoes this person's wearing, what outfit this person came in, or just anything fun that a kid would want to ask these players. And I thought it was a dope idea for me to kind of pitch to them this idea of like me going up to these players, LeBron, just all these players that play, and just kind of ask them like questions that I think that they've never been asked before, and I think it'd just be a super refreshing idea. So ever since then, like all the finals, all the All-Star games, I've been able to kind of go as their correspondent, and it's just been super fun. So,
That's super dope.
Yeah, 2K teaches you a lot about basketball.
Facts.
That's
If
my-
you're a
that's my
rapper, you
favorite.
want to have your music in 2K.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Your album, We the Future, great album.
Thank
It's
you.
got to be the best crew of collaborators and pros that someone your age has ever assembled for a debut album.
Crazy.
You have production from Uncle Madlib.
Yes.
You said in the album, I said it very clear because this ain't mumble rap.
Yeah.
You're making very clear statements. You have features from Angelo. I want to say his name right. Arce, is that correct?
Yes.
RC.
Arce, Angelo
Yeah.
Arce. Is that family to y'all?
Yeah. He's
In a way, yeah, it's 805 family.
Okay, 805 family.
Yeah.
Dame Dollar. Is that the
Yes.
best basketball rapper?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna say yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jadenda, who's from my hood, Beverly,
Yes.
and No String Flapper stand up. The great Saida Garrett. How you know about Saida Garrett, man?
Dude, come on! Like, I remember we met Saida at this event. I forgot, it was some type of award show,
Charity event,
a
yeah.
charity event, and I met her, and I was like, I had to come up, I had to say something. I told her I was working on an album, and I was like, I need you to be on this, and we didn't know what the collaboration would lead to, what the song would sound like or anything, but I just knew, obviously what she's done for Michael, and the inspiration that I've seen from her is like, I kind of learned about what she did because obviously I've seen what Michael's done, and then kind of growing up knowing like, oh, Saida did this for him or Saida did that. So I was like, that's crazy. So she's awesome, and she's super wonderful to have.
And your
man.
choice to have her on Toy Gun, which you're not rapping on that song,
Right.
But it's about Tamir Rice.
Yeah.
What made you make that choice?
Once I knew that she was down to be on the album, it kind of like set me back a little bit because I had all these songs talking about positive things, or I had some songs talking about more deeper meanings, but like most of the songs were about mainly positive ideas, and I kind of wanted to have something that kind of reflected on a tribute or just something more deeper that needed to be said with my first album or one of my first songs. So I had her on that song, and then once she did that, I was like, I'm not even gonna say anything. Like, I'm not
Wow,
even gonna say
it was too
anything.
powerful.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was-
yeah. I don't want to say anything. I remember that studio session where she did it. I was like in awe the whole time. Like it sounded so good. Like and it sounded so
Sounds
good.
real good.
And what she was saying was so impactful. Like I've never seen someone say something so impactful that actually sounded like really good. I can listen to forever and ever.
Right.
Tamir Rice was shot and murdered by those cops within 2 seconds.
Yeah.
He was 12 years old when that happened. How old were you when that happened?
How was I when we recorded this? Like maybe
So around the same age,
maybe
as
12. Yeah.
that's got to be super impactful. Slick Rick, the song with Slick Rick is brilliant.
Yes.
You have drops on there from ASAP Ferg, but notably for me, people like Redman, Method Man,
Yes.
Rakim, Big Daddy Kane. These are the best MCs ever working. You're so young. Is it just your father's influences, or what makes you want to have these old school rappers support in this way?
It started with my dad because obviously I feel like he's the one who introduced me to all these artists. But when I was so young, it kind of like I said, I didn't start listening to current music until later. So everything I've listened to before was all like kind of that older generation, music. And it was just so impactful to me. Whenever I would meet these artists, I knew like what I wanted to kind of have on my album was a blend. Like I wanted to not be too new school. That's why I would get artists, like DJ Khaled or like you just say A$AP Ferg, like, but I wanted to have that blend of like Method Man, Rakim, Big Daddy Kane. And it was just like so crazy knowing that how much they supported what I did and how much they kind of like was with, me doing music, going from, Blackish. Because I'm pretty sure a lot of those people, when I would go up to them and I asked them to do a drop for my album, they were kind of taken back a little bit because they were obviously know me from Blackish. So I think it's just a dope idea knowing how much they were on board with what I did and what they supported me. So it was just super, super inspiring, super dope to have them.
And I want to thank both Jack and you, Miles, for supporting me on social media. Y'all support my art, and you definitely, and I really appreciate that support. The song Special is dedicated to your mom, who's in the house. Right?
Yes.
She's
Shout
here,
out to
right?
Cindy.
Hi,
Shout out
Cindy
to
Brown
Cindy.
is here.
Yeah.
Shout out to moms.
Yeah.
We can't do this without moms. You said she's the whole
Amen.
inspiration of this song. The song you also talk about your sister Kiana.
Yes.
What do you want to say about how they've supported your dreams?
I mean, I don't know what else more I could say. I mean, everywhere I've went or everything I've done, they've always been there. Even if like my dad has been the one to be able to personally like physically take me to these places, but she's always kind of been that supportive, both me and, her and my sister have always been that supportive role. Like whenever it be for Blackish or driving me to work every day or just anything I've always done, they've literally
driving me to work every day.
Driving me to work every day.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird to say, but
No license yet.
yeah, no license. waiting
But the
for-
fact that at your age you were like had
You're
this
almost
experience
there.
of I had to go to work every day. Like,
Yeah. But
a
I would
fun
just
job,
say
though.
it's just a crazy, I guess, thing to say to always have those like that backbone, like kind of relationship that always ties us in with the family. So yeah, I had to make a song about them for sure. Like,
It's a beautiful song. Jack, I have a couple questions for you before we get out of here. The first one is, what sounds does Metaphor make when he's sleeping?
Oh, man.
I also want to know what does Madlib wear when he's at the crib. I want to know what Oh No reads when he takes a shit. And what's the name of your last record?
He should not be in the shitter. With
I know. These are references from a song that
I don't know the answers to these.
a lot of people can relate to.
The song is called Interviews. It's a great song.
Yeah.
That song,
I appreciate
that
it.
track, you take us through the experience of just the working class MC. I just got out of customs. I got to the venue late.
Right.
Oh, I did schedule an interview.
Right.
And then the interviewer, and this is why I love having people like y'all on the People's Party, because I respect hip hop journalism, bro. Like I come from the era of, watching Gil Noble Like It Is. And in the podcast space, you have Combat Jack, Reggie Osei. But people ain't doing it like we doing it here in the People's Party.
Right.
And so when I heard that song, because I heard that song when it came out, but I listened to it differently now that I actually do interviews for a living.
Right.
And I was like, yo, I gotta ask him these questions.
Word up. You know what? That was really also inspired from our first tour. It's just all the things that have happened. I never see someone be rude to an interviewer or say what they want to say versus saving face, to be nice and polite. But the first influence was Fife. When
Rest in peace.
When we did our first Lootpack tour was with Fife, and this was literally the moment they had first split. And I remember what he was going through, and it was similar to that. But he was the only one I ever witnessed say something, or we just happened to be witnessing what he was saying. Like, do these people know this and that? Because at the time it was all about Q-tip.
Right.
And it kind of like threw me off guard. Like, yo, this is, I wouldn't, it was kind of a shock for us to be seeing this. We're treating Fife equivalent.
Yes.
Like,
because you know the
equivalent.
culture.
Of course.
Yeah.
But
you treating him how Tip would treat him.
exactly.
Yeah.
But when I see the other side of it where people weren't, that was the first tipping point. So for me to go through that, I didn't even know we would even go through some of that. And then, you know, when we stopped traveling as Lootpack, and Madlib kept doing this thing, me and Rome started finding ourselves in these situations like, yo, I want to be able to support Madlib because I want to bring him up and support him, which we've always done. Why is it always, you know, we just put out this? So it was just like unawkward conversations, but I get it now. But I just wasn't feeling it. So I was like, man, we got to do something about this.
Art is a reflection of what you felt at that time.
Yeah,
and it's an accurate reflection.
Exactly. Yeah. Kind of full circle story, but it was just something like I felt like, yo, I got to get this off my chest because it's too many times I say that. And it's funny because since I put that joint out and I would perform that when I was performing that, a lot of the interviews have changed.
Right.
That's Supreme Alchemy right there. Man, it changed it.
Yeah, you know, so they would be like, respectfully.
Right.
What album is Madlib working on? And I'm like, I get what you.
Yeah,
I
saw this. I saw this on Instagram today. Somebody said when someone starts a sentence with respectfully, run for the hills.
Nah.
He's about to say something real whack to you.
Right. Shout out to Madlib though, man.
Shout out to Madlib and 805 Word is Bond.
Thanks.
Finally, what's next for Jack and Miles Brown?
New album completed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Omawale's the title. Definitely want to hear, you know, get that to you just so you can vibe it. I think we're dropping February.
Okay.
January/February through Fat Beats.
Shout out to
But I'm
Fat
proud
Beats.
of this one. I'm excited. I kind of like just put my heart and soul in this one, man. Just like every project that is. But you know, sometimes you do a project and you're already on to the next, on to the next. But this one is like, as I've grown older or whatever the case, the experiences I've gone through, it's kind of the embodiment of what a typical black man in 2021 has gone through, I think is put into the effort of this album.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's coming soon. You know, even my son Miles is on it.
I need to talk to y'all about this Liberation too. I might need some
Yeah,
bars.
for sure, man. I'm just inspired, but at the same time, I want to just keep inspiring in any shape or form. So,
Yes.
No doubt.
yeah.
For me, I can't say as much as he did because everything I'm trying to say is like I can't fully say. But obviously going off, you know, Blackish season 8 coming soon, so that's gonna be awesome. Trying to, you know, get this production company, it's crazy saying that now, started so we can finally, I just want to be able to make my own stuff and be able to kind of like have control over what I do and I think it's just a super dope idea. So that's coming soon. I would say the name of it, but I don't want to yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in the works that we're working on. We just haven't went public yet. We're waiting for that right moment, which when that case comes, I'm sure you guys are going to hear about it soon.
Yeah,
No doubt. Well, I love the family affair. You got the family in the house. You know, this is truly beautiful, truly remarkable. And I am honored that I could share the beauty of y'all dynamic with my audience here at the People's Party.
Thank you.
Jack, Miles, I appreciate y'all. Thank you for coming on People's Party.
Thank you.
Thank you. Woo! Word up.
Thank you, y'all.
Word up.
That was fire.
That was
Yeah.
great.
That was crazy.